Hi, this is Matt Richardson, and this is a bit of a demo into the RealtimeUK pipeline that I've written. It's designed to take a shot all the way from initial blockout stages right through to completion and sort of final delivery, while keeping everything in context of an edit, which is obviously very important. A lot of the features that are in here are kind of directly copied from Shotgun or NukeStudio, because we don't have either of those systems, so it's basically written as a poor man's version of either of or both of those. So a lot of the features that you get in those are in here, so it's things like email notifications, all your shot naming and shot conventions and stuff. That's all set out for you, so you never have to think about where a shot is or what it's called or versioning or anything like that. All the versioning is all taken care of within the system, as are email notifications and approval movies and all that kind of stuff. It's all just taken care of, so you never have to think about it. So it's got as many of those features in here as I can write. Really, I'm not really a programmer, but they all work pretty well. They're all pretty good. It's worth noting that it's never kind of finished. It's been evolving and growing and stuff for several years now. And I'm sure it will grow and change a lot more in the future. So if there's things that you think, oh, actually it'd be really useful if it did this, or I wonder if we could find a way of doing this or that or whatever, just let us know, and I'm sure I can sort of cobble something together and add it into the system. Okay, so it all starts with an edit. So this will be done by Ian. This is one of the edits for the Mummies show we just did. So, you know, Ian's got the characters, he's got them rigged, he's got all the motion capture in there, and he's played around with his cameras, and he's basically edited the story to make it how he wants. So it's telling the story, he's chatted with the client and stuff to make sure everyone's happy with it, and okay, it's all working brilliantly. So once this is signed off, basically you just export it as an XML. So you just go File, Export, Export as XML. Then we fire up Nuke, we run it through a whole load of my scripts, and that basically rebuilds this entire shot structure within Nuke. So if I just fire up Nuke, the first important thing to remember when you're using the pipeline is that everything within Nuke should always be sort of controlled by the real-time menu. So you see up here on the menu bar, there's a real-time menu. So if you want to open a shot, you go to the real-time open. You want to save a shot, you go real-time save. Render it, submit to deadline. If you're doing something within a shot, you bring in your renders, you do it through the menu. Same with using the edits. Basically, whatever you're doing, it's always done through this menu, because this is where all my scripts and stuff live effectively. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to open the edit file that we've just made. So we've exported it as an XML. I've run it through a load of scripts, so it's basically built the whole project structure in Nuke. So you want to open that. So we go to the real-time open. So you basically select the project that you're working on. So for this it's Mummies episode 6. You select the shot type. There are basically 3 shot types. There are shots, which are obviously the individual shots you'll be working on. There's the edit, which are basically all the shots loaded together to make an edit. And then there's tests, which are obviously just a test. So if you're just playing around, just doing something, but it is actually appropriate to a shot or appropriate to a project, it can actually be linked to the project within here. So let's just open the edit first of all. Sometimes it doesn't update, so there we go. And you can select which edit you want to do. So we're going to open the demo edit at the moment. Now it'll always try and open the latest version, but because there's only one version, because I've only just made it, that's what's selected. So we open that. Okay, so we've opened up the edit in Nuke, and what we've got is all these read nodes, which are the individual shots. So these are all the individual shots that are loaded in. They've all got the version 1, which is the blockout version, and they're all been edited together by all this stuff, which has been automatically created to match whatever is in the XML. So all the folder structure for all this stuff has already been made. All the version 1 outputs have already been made. Everything's done for you. All the naming conventions are set up, so you never have to think about what your files are called, you just never have to think about anything. It's all stored in the right place with the right names, and yeah, and it works pretty well. So on screen we've also got some extra information which is added into the edit just for reference really. So down here on the bottom you've got the edit name down here, which is demo edit version 1, which is the Nuke scene that you've got open. On the right you've got the frame number, which is always just the frame number, just the edit frame. And then you've also got details of the actual shot that's being viewed as well. So you've got, at the moment we're looking at shot 4110 VO1, and we're looking at shot frame 161. Okay, so I'll just see how that shot frame compares to what's actually used in Premiere. So if I just jump back to Premiere and I go to frame, let's say 3020, we'll see we're looking at shot frame 262. But if I look in Premiere and I go to 3020, it thinks we're looking at frame 139. The way Premiere thinks of its frames is the first frame is always 1. And it just counts onwards from there, which obviously isn't the case. I mean, if you actually look at the file name, which is down here, the max file started, or the max preview that we're looking at here, started at frame 113. So you've got no way of knowing what 149 is, because it's actually 149 plus 113 to actually give you the max frame that's created this image. But my Nuke stuff kind of deals with all that. So we'll actually see, yeah, we're looking at frame 262. So that shot frame there actually corresponds to what would be on your Max or Maya timeline. So that's the real 3D frame number, if you like, which makes it a lot easier to kind of give and receive feedback. So for instance, a client comes back to you and says, oh, I don't like the way this guy's hand is at frame 307 on shot 4110, you actually know that when you open up Max or you open up Maya, you look at frame 307, that's the frame you're going to get. You don't have to kind of guess and think about where it actually is. So that makes it just a lot more easier in working with edits. Okay, so now we actually want to start working on one of these shots that's making up this edit. So let's say we'll start with this chap. So there's a few different ways that we can open this shot. You can see that it's called shot 4120, so there's a couple of different ways that we can actually open shot 4120. We can go to real-time open. In the same way that we opened the edit, we can dive into the shot. So we're still in the same project, we just want to make sure we're in shots. Now we want to go down here and go to 4120. And again, it's always going to try and open the latest version, but again, we've only got version 1 at the moment, so that'll open that. That's one way of opening the shot. Or because it's all hard coded and this whole Nuke pipeline knows exactly where that shot is, you can actually just go real time, edit, open shot from read, or you can see I've just put the hotkey of F3. So if I just double click that, press F3, see it's made the tile go orange to just give you some visual representation that you're actually working on this shot in the edit, or someone's working on the shot in the edit. And then it's opened up the shot here. So yeah, so we've actually hopped straight into the shot and we can start working on the shot as we like. Now we'll see that the range is obviously different. In the edit we're talking about thousands because we're talking about the master edit frame range, whereas in the shot we're talking about the original range, if you like. So we're going from frame 100 up to 222, but it doesn't matter because all the offsetting and all the retiming is completely dealt with in the edit. So this shot, now I have this open, is locked. So that's locked company wide, so no one else can open this either in Westby or Manchester. It's locked. If they try and open it, they will get a little dialogue message that says you can't because Matt's got it open. So yeah, so it's all sort of dealt with and tidied up just to make sure that no one else can overwrite your work, which is obviously not cool. So you can see here we've got real-time version notes. So this is basically just where notes are stored for the shot. So anytime you make a new version, it's all logged in here, so you can kind of say what's gone on, or it doesn't have to be anything too too complex or anything. It's just a little note, so even if you just open it up next time, you can see what you've actually done in what version and stuff. Okay, so let's say I've done some renders for this shot and I actually just want to add them in just to check them. So I'll go real-time shot, because I'm working within shot, and I'm going to import max renders. So this is going to scan the folder structure for where it thinks they should be, and it's found these 3 different elements that I can bring in. So at the moment I'll just bring in version 2, and it's loaded in all the different passes that it's found that I rendered for version 2, which, yeah, quite a few different passes. So there's the RGB render that I did, which is just the first render pass. So let's say I just want to actually render that out. Obviously it's not got the matte paint in the background or anything like that, or any of the volumetrics and stuff. It's just a first pass render. So let's say I want to comp that. I just want to comp it and stick it out and see how it looks in the edit. Okay, so I've just connected the render into the actual output. So let's make a new version of this, because I've changed something, so I'm going to make a new version. So you go real-time save. Real-time saving is what controls all the versioning and everything like that, so you don't want to do a normal save, you always want to do a real-time save. Straight away it's going to ask you for a version comment. You can't leave this blank, otherwise it will swear at you. So you have to write something in here, so I'll just put first render, and I'll press OK. Now see, it's actually syncing now. So what it just did then is it sent all these files up to Westby. So basically this file is already in Westby now, so everything's in sync all over the place, so it's always all the files are accessible to everyone across the company. And you'll see it's updated the version notes here, so it said version 2, and that's today's date, today's time, and it was done by me, Matt Richardson. Ta-da! First render. That's just the version note that I wrote and typed into that dialog box. Okay, so the next thing to think about is what's this real-time writer at the bottom. So this effectively controls everything going forwards into deadline, and looking of the movies and things like that, the approval movies. So you can select basically your output. By default it should be on JPEG, just because it makes it nice and small, so you can kind of see your images and scrub through them nice and quickly. If you, obviously when you're doing final outputs, you want to up that to 16-bit EXRs, but normally I just leave it on JPEGs because that's all you need. So your images will always be the resolution that's set out in Nuke, so they'll always be, in this case, 1920 1080. Deadline will make a QuickTime from these, and this decides the resolution of that QuickTime. Yeah, so choose whichever resolution you want. 1600 is normally fine. In the movie description, you see first render. So that was what I wrote in the comment box. So if you swear in the comment box, it'll swear in here, just letting you be known. And that will be stamped into the movie. So just be aware of what you're typing in there will be visible to everyone everywhere within the movie, so just be aware. You can turn off all the movie labeling if you want, so I'll turn the logo off, the frame number, the frame stamp, everything off, but normally you just want to leave that on because you do want the frame numbers on there and things. Okay, so that file's done. So now I've made a real-time version of it. I can just press Ctrl+S to save it, just to make sure I'm saved, and then I'll actually submit this to the deadline for rendering. So I've got real-time, submit it to deadline. It brings up this is pretty standard, the standard deadline submission tools. It's been customized, so all the defaults have been set for you, so you don't ever have to change anything here. You just have to go OK, and it submits the job to deadline, and it'll tell you it's done it very nicely. So now if I jump into deadline, you will see there's my job. As you can see, there's the shots rendering at the moment. It will be very quick because all it's doing is making JPEGs and not doing actually anything in the comp. So this is making the images at the moment, the actual images that are coming out of the comp. Once it's done this, it will basically make a draft job, which is what is gonna create the movie. So there you go. So that's finished that job. but you'll see in 1 second it started making a draft job. So this is what actually makes the approval movies which live on the network that everyone gets to see. So we'll just leave that to do. Again, these are pretty quick to make because we're only talking about 100 odd frames or whatever, and they're very fast. But obviously the benefit is this is all done on the network, so you could just press go and you're free to go off and have a cup of tea or close your nuke or get on with a different shot or do whatever, but it's all taken care of behind the scenes and it's all done correctly for you. Okay, so that's just finished the job. Now you get this shot approval box, and it tells you exactly what you have: a new shot movie waiting for you to enjoy, blah blah blah. So what I want to do, 3 buttons. You've got play movie, approved, or close. So I'll press play movie, and now here we are, I have the movie. So this is the movie that's just been spat out. You can see it's got my comment loaded onto it, it's got the shot number loaded onto it, and the frame number down here. Okay, so at the moment no one knows this has been created, it's just in a temporary location on the network. So you're more than welcome to just close this, and then open up Nuke, open up the shot again and change something, and recomp it. That's absolutely fine, because this gives you a chance to review your work before you send it out to the others. But let's say I think, actually, yeah, this is fine, I'm happy to send this off to whoever the supervisor is and for them to have a look at it. So that's what this approved button is for. So what this is going to do is it's going to move it from the temporary location that I just said, it's just in a temporary location on the network. It's going to move it into the proper location on the network, both in Manchester and in Westby, so it's all the approvals are always in the correct place all the time. And it's also going to email the supervisor who's listed as being in charge of the job. So you press the approval button and it's going to give you a little dialogue. It just says press this button and wait for 30 seconds because it might take a little while. So I'll press OK. So what it's doing, yeah, it's copying it to both locations in Manchester and in Westby, and then it's also going to send some automatic emails. And if I show you my emails, here we are. And here we have one of the emails. So it says here, there's a new shot version ready for your viewing delight. It tells you the user that's made it, the version comments, and the path to exactly where the shot is. So the supervisor is always aware of when a new shot's been done, and they can keep track on it, and they can look at it and give their feedback and whatever. Yeah. They can also obviously open up the edit, because now the shot's been published, it's been approved by the artist, it's been sent out, it can be loaded into the edit. So if I open up the Nuke edit, so here we are. Now obviously this is the version 1 that we had before. Now I can change that to be version 2, which is a default kind of nuke command, which is Alt and up. I've actually changed the, there you go, sorry I wasn't clicked on it, so there's version 1, there's version 2. I've actually changed the default nuke commands of Alt up and Alt down, because like I say, you can output this as any different format you want. It could be JPEG, it could be EXR, it could be TIFF. It was basically whatever you selected in that real-time writer node. So now the Alt up and down keys will change between JPEGs and EXRs as it needs to. So now you can play back the shot and actually check it within context of the edit, because it might be, for instance, that there's colour differences between 2 different shots, or the bit of animation doesn't work with the cut. It might be fine in the shot itself, but obviously you need to check everything with context to the other shots around it, and the rest of the edit to make sure it all fits and all works. So this allows you to do all that and check that the shot matches with everything that's around it. You can also sort of really quickly go up and down, so you can check that things are in the right place in different versions, and nothing else has changed, nothing's gone wrong. It's very easy to switch between all the different versions. A point to note about the version up and down: the default nuke version up and down will keep going. So if I'm on version 2 at the moment and I press Alt up, it would go to version 3 even though there isn't a version 3 that exists, and it would just sort of error. So I've stopped that. for the purpose of this pipeline, so it will never be able to go any further than the latest version. Yes, that's quite handy. You'll also notice that the on-screen information is always updated, so it's always up to date. It's always showing the correct version name. So we're looking at shot 4.120 and we're looking at version 2. If I change that, for instance, and I change it down to version 1, it'll always give you exactly the correct information. It's worthwhile noting that actually if you view the shot itself, the actual shot is clean. There's no information burnt into the image itself. You could see the full HD image. This is the JPEG that was rendered out of Nuke. All the information is basically added within the edit, so you can see it all there. It's also worth noting in the new version of my Alt Up and Alt Down commands, rather than the standard Nuke ones, they actually work with multiple things selected. So I can, for instance, select all, and again, they're only going to go up as far as they should do. They can't go too far, so I can press Alt Up, keep going. I don't know, probably pressed it 20 times now, and it's basically scanning all the folders to make sure everything's is possible to load in and all that stuff. Once it's done that, there you go. So you can actually see it updating there. So it's basically got it to the highest version that it can. Yeah, the really handy thing about being able to Alt Up and Alt Down in the timeline is you can just compare different versions. So for instance, you go there and you go, okay, what's this one? I don't know, and you can press Alt Down and see the previous version, version before that, version before that, version before that, all the way back to the block out. So you can see the block out, and then it was just a lighting pass, then there was the actual animation, then there was a sort of test comp, then the lighting was changed and took some foreground elements out, and there you go, you got the shot. Yeah. If you don't want to be using hotkeys and things like that, there's actually an even easier way to make sure you're using the latest version. If I just put all these back to version 1, so I'll just press Alt Down all the way, down, and then you see we're right back to the block out of all the shots, or of those selected shots. So if I just select all of those, and I go Real Time, Edit, Update Shots to latest versions, and press that, and there we go. So we've got this dialog which is basically telling me shot 4.100 has an empty V10 folder. So there's probably a new comp file that hasn't been rendered yet, so it might be you've just made one for testing or something, but it's not been rendered out. So yeah, in this case it tells you the user who made the version 10, so Tom made the version 10, so best to check with him, and it swears. And it tells you what the shot version it's actually using is, so okay. And it tells me that, look, I've been messing around with all these, so there are lots of different versions. And there you go, so it tells you here what shots have been updated. So all these have been updated, and actually color codes them as all the nodes as well. So green means it's been updated, amber means it's updated but not to the latest version. So go down here and you can easily spot what's been updated and what's not been updated. Yeah, so that works quite cool. Just so you know, if you want to change them all back to grey, it's in utilities, colors. You can choose between red, amber, grey and green. So I just put it to grey, there you go. Another useful thing that you might want to be doing in the edit is you can actually import the version notes that were written within the shot. So here's the shot that we're looking at. So if I just select it and go Real Time, Edit, I can import selected version notes or selected shots version notes. So I just click it and I bring in the version notes effectively from within the shot. So I can see that yeah, version 2 is down here, but I want to know what all the other versions were. So yeah, version 1 was also generated from the XML. Version 2, it gives you the date which it was made and the artist that made it in the first render, exactly the same information that was within the shot itself, but I can actually pull that into the edit if you like, so we can see where a shot's up to or what's been done on a shot or what version notes there actually are for that shot. So the approval movie always gets copied to exactly the same location every time, so it's always in the project folder. If you look at this path here, you can see it's the project folder. There's always a folder called approvals, nuke comps, shots, and then it's got the shot folder. So in the project folder here you've got approvals, you've got nuke comps, you've got shots, and then you've got all the shots listed down here. So we were looking at 4.120, and these are the two versions that exist. So they're always in the same place, always every single time. So they're always in the same place for every single shot, no matter what you're working on. And this is the same, so this path is exactly the same whether you're in Manchester or in Westby, because like I say, the movie's already been sent up to Westby, so all this folder structure and everything always exists, and it's always consistent every single time. So there may be occasions where you actually want to create a new shot and add it to the edit because there's been a new shot that's been invented or something. So that's quite a simple, straightforward process. Basically you go and you make yourself a new comp. Okay, so this is just a fresh, clean, vanilla nuke. So let's just make a checkerboard or something. Here we go. Default's normally set to HD. Obviously very straightforward to change that. So let's say I want to save this as a new shot for use within an edit or for use within the nuke pipeline that I've written. So you go realtime, shot, save as a new shot. And then you get these options. So you basically have to choose your project. So we'll go for Mummy's project. This is where you get the option, so you can choose to have it as a test, or you can choose to make a new edit if you want, but normally shot is what you want. Okay, so now you need to give it a shot name. You can't leave this blank, otherwise it will tell you off quite rudely. So let me just add this. I'm going to call this 0525. Okay, now notice there's no version number I put on the end of it. Don't need to do any of that because that's all automatically taken care of. You never have to put any of that. You just want to give it your shot name. No version, no initials, no nothing. So okay, and it'll probably say your comp doesn't have a real-time writer. Do you want to make one now? Yes, please. This is where you can set your frame ranges and your formats and stuff. Now I'll give it the first version comment. I'll go first. Oops, got caps lock on. First. Shot. I don't know. Could be anything. So again, we've got the version notes down here. So it's made my real-time writer for me. My comments have already been loaded into there. You can see up here that my shot name is up here, which was the shot number that I gave it, 0525, and it's already got a version 1. It's got version 1_01, so it's all taken care of, the versioning. So I can go real-time, submit nuke to deadline. Again, all this is set up for you. You just need to press OK. Brilliant. Off it goes. Okay, so that's happily rendering on the farm. So what I'm going to do now is just close the shot, and that's automatically going to sync. You probably didn't see that, it was very quick, but it's automatically sent the files from Manchester office, which is where I am, all the way up to Westby, so they're already there. It's also unlocked the shot, so anyone else can open the shot through Nuke, and it will appear in their list as a shot ready for them to open and look at, and yeah. So I've jumped in deadline. You see my shot rendered very quickly, as you'd expect. It's just a checkerboard. And it's finished, and it's made a draft movie. Well, it's just making a draft movie at the moment. Okay, so the draft job finished, and again we get the shot approval dialog, so I can play the movie. Obviously it's just blank, but I've got the frame number down there, I've got first shot written on there, and things like that. So then I can approve this. Okay, that's going to be sending it off to Westby as well as in Manchester in the correct place, and it'll be sending out the emails and things like that. But I can already go back into my edit, and I can go real time, shot, open rendered comp output. So I can select the project, and I can go for shots because that's what it is, and I can select the shot, which there it is right at the bottom, 525. And I can select the version that I want to open. And here we are, so now we have the shot loaded into the edit as its own standard shot. And again, if I hooked it up to all this lot, I'd get the shot details written on it and things like that. Okay, so there's also some other quite useful bits and bobs that I've written, which can be found under utilities in the real-time menu. So if you go real-time utilities, so the first ones are send shot to other office and fetch shot to other office. So they kind of do the equal and opposite, as you'd kind of imagine. So let's say I'm working on a shot in Manchester. I've got a load of rendered elements, a load of assets, a load of bits and bobs that I'm actually loading into my comp and using to actually comp the image together. Now obviously the nuke scene is automatically synced, but the elements aren't because they're quite big. So if someone wants to open your comp up in Westby, they can open the scene straight away, but they might not be able to find any of the elements because they're actually down in Manchester. So if I know that a shot is going to be opened up there, I can press send shot to other office, or alternatively, if someone opens up a comp and half the stuff are missing, they can simply click fetch shot from other office, and that'll basically go through all the read nodes in a comp and bring over all the assets from the other location. The next one on the list is real-time writer, so that just makes a real-time write node there, you see, just in case you accidentally delete the one out of the file, out of the comp. The next one, don't need that. Search and replace file names is quite handy. So let's say you've got a load of nodes, a load of read nodes, and you want to just change things. You know, you've made a mistake or things have gone to the wrong place or something. You can just search and replace within that file node, so you could change things to version 2 to version 4. You shouldn't need to do that, but you know, you can do something with that. That's quite handy. Okay, the next thing is the delete old nuke renders utility. So if you click it, you get to set the project, and then it will basically come up with a list of these are all the shots that are associated with that project. So you can select all of them, none of them, or you can have one selected and invert it, whatever. So let me just select one shot. Okay. And it's going to tell you it's going to delete all the old versions and stuff. So basically, if you've got versions 1, 2 and 3, it'll keep the version 3 but delete all the images and folders version 2 and version 1. So it's always got the most recent version. It's just useful if you've got loads of old versions that you simply don't need anymore. It's just a handy way of getting rid of them all.